This week we're going to focus on MLA format. Last week we discussed the peer review process and began finalizing the summary paper assignment. This week you'll finalize that summary paper assignment and formulate an argumentative working thesis statement as well as an annotated bibliography of sources you plan to use in your research paper. Here are this week's outcomes. You'll be able to define plagiarism and describe ways to avoid it by reviewing the plagiarism materials provided. You'll provide a thesis statement feedback to classmates by responding on the discussion board. You'll apply feedback from classmates on the discussion boards by reviewing your current thesis statement into a working thesis statement that that you will turn in for me to evaluate. You'll address an opposing viewpoint by completing the They Say 6 assignment, and you'll prepare an annotated bibliography by creating MLA citations for 6 sources and summarizing each source according to the assignment instructions. This week's readings include the Norton Field Guide, Chapter 27, 45, 48, 49, and 50, and the They Say, I Say textbook, Chapter 6 and 7. There are also numerous additional materials under the Understanding Plagiarism link. So I've got a brief explanation of what plagiarism is along with a link to an article called Plagiarism Lines Blur for Students in the Digital Age. Additional resources include the ECC plagiarism policy, which can be found on the ECC website, the plagiarism.org website. There are a series of webcasts that you may find helpful. And then also in general, just going to the plagiarism.org website and reviewing the various pages within the site that teach you more about Plagiarism 101, citing sources, ask the experts, resources, and checking for plagiarism. Just continue to read through these resources until you feel like you have an accurate understanding of plagiarism, and always feel free to ask me questions if something doesn't seem right. So, all right, for this week's assignments, at the beginning of the week, the summary paper is due, along with your responses to classmates for discussion 6 and They Say assignment 6. And I believe this is the last They Say assignment. And this chapter talks about planning the naysayer in your text. So this is about addressing the opposition in your argument. So you will summarize, you'll choose one of the sources from your annotated bibliography that has an opposing viewpoint to what you're already planning on arguing. You're going to summarize the article's main point, describe the naysayer's point of view, and then write a sentence or two refuting the naysayer. And again, I'm using the Google Glass example. I found an article titled Google Glass Doesn't Have a Privacy Problem, You Do, by Whitney Aaron Bosel. And here I just briefly summarize the article, and then I give her point of view, and then I refute her point of view with my own point of view. So again, this is all material that if I were writing a research paper in Google Glass, I could copy and paste it and integrate it. You can't just copy and paste it. You got to somehow integrate it into your argument, but I could integrate this into my argument in my paper if I wanted to. Okay, the annotated bibliography. This is a significant assignment. You're required to use 6 to 10 sources for your research paper. And so for the annotated bibliography, you're going to choose a minimum of 6 sources that you would use. A book, a pop culture source like a TV show, a documentary, a blog article, some kind of YouTube video or other video, a film, a commercial, a podcast. The sky's the limit on pop culture sources. You're going to choose one popular article from either a magazine or a newspaper. You're going to choose one website and 2 peer-reviewed scholarly articles that you would typically find in the library database. And remember that one of these articles can be the summary paper that you've used. You would further condense that into a shorter summary, and you could include that in your annotated bibliography. So for each citation, here are the criteria. You're going to have a heading for each source that's in bold and underlined. So if it's a scholarly article like this example, have a scholarly article. The complete bibliographic entry in MLA format. Here's my bibliographic information. A 5 to 6 sentence summary, a direct quote, 1 to 2 sentences describing how the source addresses the so what or who cares in your research. And ultimately, your 6 sources should appear in alphabetical order. So we have an example here. Again, I've got my summary of the article. At the end of the summary, I've got my direct quote. And this is an abbreviated version of the summary I put together for the summary paper. And then I have a couple sentences on the who cares, as well as a couple 3 or 4 sentences on the so what. And again, you can use all this information in your research paper. So that's the annotated bibliography. The working thesis statement is essentially a 1 to 2 sentence summary, 1 to 2 sentence statement that articulates your argument. So here are some questions for you to ask when you're developing this thesis statement. The statement must begin with a debatable claim and that people could reasonably have differing opinions on. So it's not enough to say that, a vegan diet is more healthy than a meat-based diet. Well, okay, most people know that. So what spin are you going to put on it? What can I argue with you about the vegan diet? So the sentence is only 1 to 2 sentences, or the assignment, and so it will articulate the answers to the above questions in a direct statement, and you'll turn that in. This is something that you will have already discussed on the last discussion board, and so you'll use your feedback from your classmates to arrive at a even more specific, narrowed down thesis statement. Then I'll grade it and give you feedback, and then you can revise it from there for your final product. Again, you're going to turn these things in through the Dropbox, and notice that I do have a rubric. I wonder why it's showing up twice. I must have it on there twice, so I'll have to check that out. But the rubric is here. And so I'll have to check out why it's there twice. Okay, plan ahead. For week 7, we're going to talk about tying it all together, and you're going to put together a minimum of the first 5 pages of your research paper draft. You'll continue gathering and reviewing potential sources for your paper, and just remember that I will not review late drafts. I got to get them all in and then be able to budget my time so that I can get your feedback back to you as quickly as possible. So that's it for week 6 content. Let me know if you have questions, and I hope you have a great week. See you online.